Oh, hello there. Welcome back to Cold Ones, where we crack them open. I'm here with Sam Scorefield, and Sam, what are we talking about today?
Today we're going to be talking about frame rates. So you got your classic 30 frame rates, which would be like what they use today, 29.97, which would be like TV standard. Mm-hmm. You could do 60 for like slow motion. You could do 24 for film, which is kind of interesting because it seems like as we get further down the line with these frame rates getting increasingly higher, especially with like new video games, people's tolerance gets higher. So I remember when I was little, I used to play things at 30 frames a second, no problem. I didn't notice any sort of display issues. But then now that I've kind of transitioned over to 60, which was weird at first, now when I play old video games, sometimes I can see the difference in the, I can see the flicker, like especially with, I know you've played this, there's a game called The Last of Us. It's like a zombie game for you guys who don't know, but they offered a variable frame rate. So you can flip it to 60 in the story mode, or you can have it at 30, so it kind of goes back and forth between whichever one.
I know there are people who prefer the look of lower frame rates, but just responsiveness when it comes to interactive stuff like video games is a big deal for me.
So you a 60 person or a 30?
Well, actually,
Ooh, hot take.
I upgraded when I built a computer. I got a 144 hertz monitor.
Oh.
So it displays all the way up to 144 frames per second.
Oh, wow.
So now...
What even runs at that?
Like anything, as long as it's, as your computer could get frame rates that high.
Okay.
But it's like, you do really appreciate it first, like, wow, this is amazing. But then after a while, you get used to it, and it's just like
your tolerance. You can't go back now. There's no going back.
So 60 frames per second, like interactive stuff, seems choppy to me. And
oh, see, that's weird because I'll play at 60 or like watch something at 60. Like British cable, and it looks like they're like swimming through the pixels. Like everyone looks real weird. Like they're like half animated, half I can't tell what's going on. Like almost like a Studio Ghibli sort of deal. Where it's like. Even though I guess probably Studio Ghibli's at 24 because they're animation.
So, well, I think a standard for animation is 12.
12 frames a second? Oh,
well,
okay.
like for Japanese animation movies.
Okay.
Yeah.
That makes sense, I guess.
But then
you don't have to paint as many.
Yeah. With, I know that before our company did a shoot for an Italian studio, and they wanted 45 frames per second.
That's weird because the GH5, I think, the Lumex, shoots at 45 frames a second. And I was actually just having a conversation with Nick, someone else who works here, about how when would you ever use 45 frames a second? Because it's only like, 3/4, slow motion. So it's not like it would give you a dramatic effect like 60 or 200 would, but would totally not look normal like, 30 or 24 would. So but I guess now I know it's for like Italians.
Yeah, I think it's a European thing. It's so weird though. It's between two normal frame rates that people recognize, like here, but it looks.
Did it look odd when you cut it together?
Yeah, it's like I'm not really sure what this
looked like disturbing, like a weird monster. Yeah, Frankenstein
frame
rate.
Is like when you're putting graphics together, like when I do 30 frame graphics, I'll use a lot of motion blur.
Right.
Just it helps tie things together, but. Once I started doing graphics at 60 frames per second, first of all, it's a lot more fun to watch.
At 60, I noticed that too because I started using some of your pre-comps for something. And 60 is much more fun to watch.
Yeah,
it's just way smoother when it comes when you end up doing like the graphs to come in and out of stuff. Yeah. It just does look noticeably smoother with graphics.
Yeah, and I think at 60 you can ditch motion blur just because you don't need the suggestion of what's going on between. Those frames because it's the information is just there.
So video games, you're a 60 frames person. Graphics.
No, video games. I want to be up in the.
So video games, you're 144. Graphics, you like 60.
Yeah.
And then how about movies?
Movies, I like
movies
24.
at 24.
24 is nice. Yeah.
Like Hateful Eight was shot in 24, and that was also shot on Super 8, so that was cool.
Yeah.
That was pretty nice.
But I'm ready for the days when we can make videos or graphics that can be viewed at 120 frames or 144 frames.
humans' brains will be like transcended by then. Well, our tolerance will be so high, we'll like start, what's like the frame rate of like the universe? It'll start like breaking down.
That's a tough
crazy,
question.
Yeah.
There are monitors out there where they're above like 240, but people are saying that that's sort of the point of diminishing returns, where it's like the difference between 144 hertz and like whatever the number is, it's not really clear. So, yeah.
Well, that's all the time we have for today. We'll see you next time on Cold Ones, where we crack them open.